Hello everyone, I am back with another vlog here today. Today I want to specifically answer a lot of questions that I get about pastry school and is it the right choice for everyone. But because that is going to be a long discussion and it could be a little bit boring or dry to just see me sitting here talking about that, first I want to go on a little tea adventure. So let's go to a couple tea shops, make some tea, see what we can find, and then I will sit and chat about my thoughts on pastry school, whether or not you should go, if it's the right choice for you. So let's go. I was going to go to 2 different stores, but I couldn't decide which one of these I wanted, and the lady was so nice to me. So anyway, I think I'm gonna bring this home to make London fog macarons with. The bergamot is just insane, and this one I am going to drink today. She said it's their like namesake tea, or not namesake, but like their #1 seller, the Marco Polo green tea. So here we go. Okay, got our tea. Let's get into it. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know me in real life or hasn't messaged me privately, I went to pastry school here in France, not in Annecy, but in France in 2016. And I came to that decision because for me, I wanted to give it a try. Let's back up a little bit. I've always loved pastry and making things and baking and being in the kitchen, but even when I was in high school and really experimenting with things like that, and everyone was really pushing me like, maybe you should be a chef, maybe you should go to pastry school, I thought it was something that was a hobby, and I was very adamant about that. And it wasn't until about halfway through college when I decided, no, I need to give this a try or I will regret it. Up until that point, I had been on a very academic path, and I saw very academic things for my future. I assumed and wanted to be a teacher, a translator, something involving language, culture, other people, and probably a school, and most likely a master's degree. And so when I made the decision to go to pastry school, and I was really wrestling with that, for me, I decided to go abroad so I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get the experience I might need in a second language if I wanted to pursue a master's degree in translation studies. So for me, that meant I immediately eliminated every pastry school in the US, in Canada, in England, in Australia, New Zealand, everywhere that would have been very familiar and not helping me with that second language. So because my undergraduate degree, one of my undergraduate degrees was in Asian studies with a focus on Japan and Korea, of course my first thought was Japan. However, in Japan, pastry school is not considered something you can get a student visa for. It's not education, I don't know what it is, but that meant I could do a short 90-day program, but I couldn't get a visa. I wouldn't have help with housing, and I was not guaranteed an internship because I wouldn't have the visa to keep me there. So that seemed like it was cool, but it was a lot of money for just 3 months with no guarantees after that. I looked at Korea, it was very similar. And just as I was starting to be like, oh my gosh, all my plans, I remembered that Europe exists. So I started looking at schools in France. And again, because I wasn't sure if this was the path, I didn't want a program that was more than 1 year. I wanted a guaranteed visa, and I wanted a guaranteed internship or some kind of component that would really help me see if this is what I wanted to do, and I wanted a language component. So I found a small school called Gastronomicum. I'll leave a link in the description box for a very small school aimed at foreigners in the south of France. The school in France was a really good experience for me. Again, help with a visa, gave me housing, tons of international people. There are people from all over the world in this program. And I got an internship in a Michelin-starred restaurant. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was very hard work, and my chef, my coworkers did not speak English. So, I mean, it was very much dropping me in the deep end, but through that experience, I realized, yes, I wanted to be a pastry chef. So when I went back to the US, I focused on that. And I really felt like pastry school gave me the opportunity and the tools and the knowledge to make that decision. However, I realized while I was doing all those things, so for me, it was perfect. I have no regrets. That was definitely the right decision for me. However, if you are in that beginning process of saying, is pastry school right for me or not? And based on the number of private messages I get with this question, I know a lot of you are asking yourselves this right now. So let's explore a few reasons why, yes, it's a good idea, and a few reasons why, no, it's not a good idea. Oh, it's really good. I really like this tea. So there are 3 main reasons or groups of people who I would say, yes, pastry school is right for you. The first one is if you are like absolute 100% novice, not someone who's been teaching themselves for years, not someone who goes home every night after their 9 to 5 and goes in the kitchen, not a kid who's grown up watching the Food Network and YouTube tutorials on all kinds of pastry. I mean, literally, you don't bake. You don't know where to start. If you have that low of knowledge or experience, or maybe you watch the videos but you never try it, if you really feel like you are square one, but you're interested, but you think you might love it, but you maybe want to be a pastry chef, or maybe you've done culinary all your life but never delved into the world of pastry, I do think pastry school would be right for you. So that is the first group, really no knowledge. And that's fine, that's good. I'm not putting you down for that. I'm saying that is a group of people who, yes, it is an awesome idea to check out pastry school. The next group of people, I think similar to the boat that I was in, is if you are looking for an experience in pastry that will provide you with a visa, with a guaranteed internship and access to that networking for internships, or a cultural experience in pastry. So for example, maybe you love baking, you do it all the time, but you're mostly familiar with American style desserts or Korean style desserts, and you want to learn about French baking, or you want to learn about Japanese baking, or whatever it is. If you want that opportunity, you want that cultural exposure, you want to go live in another country for a few months, or you are in the same country, but you really want that guaranteed, I'll get an internship, I'll get my foot in the door, some kind of like direct positive thing that's not just about the pastry and not just about the pastry knowledge, something else that you get out of it. I also think for you, pastry school, definitely an awesome option. for that group of people, I also think that the pastry school you pick, if maybe the level of pastry isn't necessarily super important, like it doesn't have to be the highest class, or it doesn't matter, you know, where it falls. If you're looking for those kind of bonus extra opportunities, visa, internship, cultural experience, whatever, I think it's really good, because then you also won't be disappointed if you don't learn the exact techniques or the exact recipes or the exact whatever, because you're already getting so much out of the experience. So again, first group of people, if you have no knowledge of pastry. Second group of people, I think if you want something outside of just pastry school. And the third group of people I would really recommend pastry school to is if you're using pastry school like a gap year. And I know that might seem a little bit silly, but honestly, there were so many people in my pastry program who were basically there on holiday, on a vacation, or were like not sure what they wanted to do with their life, or they were like me and they were like, I am seriously interested in two very different career paths and I don't know where to go. And things like graduate school or moving to another country or starting a new career, applying to jobs, that can be a big commitment and a lot of time. So pastry school, a lot of them are like 3 months, 4 months, 6-month programs. So if you need to pause, if you need to think about it, if it's something you enjoy, but you're not sure you're willing to commit to, I think it's also a really, really good idea. I do not recommend, if that is you, if that third situation especially is the boat that you are in, do not do a 1-year program. Do not do a 2-year program. Do not go to like a food science college. No, do a short pastry program. Dip your toes in and just test the waters. Is this for me? However, with all that said, and with how positively I view my experience, the opportunities it provided, the clarity it gave me for what I want to do with my life, there are still a lot of things, a lot of reasons as to why you shouldn't go to pastry school, or why I would advise you not to. So let's take a look at that. Really wish I could share this with you. It's really delicious. Okay, so far we've looked at why you might want to go to pastry school, but here are some reasons why you might not want to go. First of all, I think there are a lot of people who are like, I'm already doing this, or I sell cookies from my home, but I'm not a professional. Some people are like, I'm a home baker and maybe I should be, or I should get that certificate or whatever. I should learn like the right way to do things. If you feel like you're doing it because you should, or like society in the pastry world expects you to, I don't think that's the right reason. I think also along with that, a lot of people who come from a more academic focused background might think, I need a degree, I need that certificate, I need to have it on my wall, I need to go to a fancy pastry school to prove like, oh, I went to, you know, the Culinary Institute of America, or I went to Franzi. Like, no, honestly, some people in very small circles might be like, wow, that's so impressive. Even within the pastry world itself, 99% of the community gives 0 F's about any of that. Your degree, where you studied, how you studied, unless you are putting in the work, unless you are continuously pushing yourself and developing yourself and your skills and your knowledge and making your own connections and networking and trying new things, no one cares where you went to school. No one cares. So if you are doing it for that reason, for having that plaque, for having that, you know, president of the school sign off, don't go. Don't go if that's what you think you should do. Or like in a lot of careers, in a lot of academic careers, even if the school itself isn't necessarily important, having an undergraduate degree, having a master's degree, having a whatever degree is a requisite for getting into a lot of jobs. Even the first opportunity, the first, you know, getting your foot in the door, that first interview In the kitchen, sure, if you have some really fancy names on your resume, that might help. If you truly know nobody and if you truly have no prior work experience, yes, people might recognize it and say, oh, okay, let's give her a try. But the true test is your skills, and interviews for kitchens are not like interviews in the rest of the world. So just know that the name alone is not going to get you the job. You have to prove that you have what it takes behind that. So if you can prove you have what it takes without that, awesome, great. The next thing I want to say is if you've already worked in a kitchen, unless, as I mentioned before, unless you're doing it for the visa, for the internship, for the cultural experience, for learning a very specific kind of pastry, it is not for you. Most of the learning that is going to happen is coming from working in a real kitchen, from the internship, from actually working. Pastry school is dipping your toes in the water. So if you have work experience in a kitchen, I would say I do not recommend going back to school. I think if you are in that situation where you've worked in a kitchen before, but you want to know more, or maybe you've been working savory, but you want to learn pastry, stage, intern, take master classes. There are so many amazing master classes, both in person and online these days. You do not need to spend months of your time and a lot of money to go to classes and learn something else. So if you are at that point in your career where you know what kitchen life is like, most of the time, it's not for you. I don't recommend it. The other time that I would say, kind of going off of that idea that most of what you learn is hands-on in an actual kitchen, in an actual internship, if you have or don't need a visa for a location, and if you have access to an internship, somewhere to stage at, which is French for intern, somewhere to, learn, observe, whatever, do prep work, do grunt work, something. If you already have a space like that, you don't need help with a visa, whatever, do that. Don't go to pastry school, do that. Just go into the kitchen. You will learn so much more quickly. Most of what I learned is absolutely from the internship I did and then from working in an actual kitchen. Pastry school, there's no pressure. The stakes are so low, and although I did learn some really good techniques and I did meet some cool people, it was more of a way of easing myself into kitchen life. And even with that 3 months preparation, the day I stepped into an actual kitchen was another world. It's another universe. And pastry school doesn't necessarily teach you how to work in a kitchen or how to work in a pastry shop. So if you're not relying on like the extra things, the bonus things, access to other internships or opportunities or whatever, again, like just start working, just start interning, just start going to master classes. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. The last thing I want to say here is I honestly think that the best thing that you can do for yourself is to just do a ton of independent study and research coupled with internship or work experience in a kitchen. As far as independent research, what I'm talking about is buy or rent pastry books by the dozen, truly read them, take notes, learn what different techniques are called, look at how different chefs do things differently, try them in your own kitchen, see how all of the components work together, see what works for you, see what questions you have, write down the questions, find a person to ask those questions. And also you need to get out into the community and you need to see what everyone else is doing. I know that the pastry world and the food world in general can be very competitive, but it's also a very tight-knit community. And yes, you want to kind of have a leg up on some of your competitors, and you want to have something that is special and different, but also it's really important to know what your competitors are doing, what other bakeries are doing, what your friends are doing, what everyone is baking, and what customers like, and what it looks like, what is the packaging, what is the style, what is the pricing. No matter if you want to go into owning your own business or not, you need to know what's out there, and you need to start getting a really good palette and developing flavor profiles and understanding what is a good texture, what do you like, what do you not like, why do you not like it, do other people like that, but it's just a personal thing. And all the time that you're doing that, take notes. I always sketch what I eat. If I go to a new pastry shop, I'll draw a little sketch. What were all the components? What did I like? What would I do differently? And then I like to use that as a starting point for creating something in my own kitchen. So that kind of research, in-person research, is important. Baking in the kitchen is important. Just trying things is important. Reading things. And again, there are so many classes online, in person, that you can take if you want to learn a specific skill, like chocolate or sugar work or fondant or, wedding cakes, wafer paper flowers. Like, there are so many places to learn these days that I think that you can do a lot on your own, even from home, without investing necessarily in pastry school. So I don't at all want to tell you not to go. I'm not trying to have this as a video saying I hated it and it's awful and nobody should go. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I absolutely do not regret going to pastry school in France. It was a really good time for me. I really enjoyed that experience, and I do recommend it, but I want you to be careful, and I do think that there are a lot of things to think through, and I hope this was helpful. I hope that my random conversations about pastry school, again, do not let me make this decision for you. This is a very personal decision, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on it and maybe help you think through if it's the right decision for you or not. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can obviously leave me a comment down below, but probably the better way to actually have a conversation is to send me a message on Instagram, send me a private message. You can find me at Maddie. I'm happy to try to answer any questions I can, if it is something you are thinking through. So anyway, thank you for joining me for tea and this random discussion about pastry school and if it's right for you. I have more macaron and travel videos coming your way very soon, so stay tuned. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below, and I will see you next time. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye!